In this queer point of view video, we are going to be reviewing A Whole World by Sean Dixon that was put on by Carousel Players. So the plot of this play was centered around 4 grade school kids between 10 to 12 years old, one of which is Omar, who is a 12-year-old Syrian refugee who doesn't speak a lot of English, and the other characters of Nashira, Alex, and Lawrence, who are from the area and are trying to. The whole play is like about them trying to figure each other out, really, because Omar doesn't speak English very well, as I said, so there's like a miscommunication between them because Omar will try to do something but ends up knocking off Alex's hat, so they get mad at each other. There's a fight that gets involved with lots of people, and they all just keep instigating each other and stuff, and in the end Nashir and Alex and Lawrence end up calling Omar a bully because of this, and they want to tell him that he's a bully by putting up a sign in his backyard to like tell him like, yeah, you are a bully, which I'll get into a bit later. But near the end of the play, they end up actually taking time to understand each other, listen to each other, and they form like a little group friend together and talk about how they share the whole world, that everyone is there, that everyone's a part of it, that everyone is together. So that's the plot of the play. The main theme and main message is, of course, being about bullying. How do we deal with bullying? How do we get past bullying? And in the end, like, everyone will be happy. So how this relates to a queer perspective, because once again, this play isn't about an explicit queer experience, a queer person, queer actors, queer subject matter, but it applies because of the bullying. Because I think bullying has become such a part of the queer experience. It's something that a lot of people have had to deal with when they shouldn't. But it's this feeling of being separate, like Omar was. Like he was separated because of his language barrier, and a lot of queer people feel excluded and isolated because of their difference in expression of sexuality and gender. So that's where I draw the similarities. And with the play ending as it did, with saying that we share the whole world, it's like, yes, we all hope for that, but understand the difficulty it takes to get there. Because yes, this play was written for younger audiences, so it was very fast paced, very concise. It was like boom, 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 like problem resolution, like conflict resolution, introduction, conflict resolution. Ba ba ba. It's done. It's good. And while yes, it's good that young audiences were coming to see this play, that some were understanding the messages of it. It didn't delve in deep enough to understand the issue, because at the end the actors ask, oh, who was the bully? And it could easily be mistaken that Omar's the bully because he's the one that's being physically confrontational and aggressive, because he doesn't understand the situation that's going on. And that's a lot about how people understand bullying in this world. Our first image when we think of bullying is a big jock pushing a nerd into a locker. It's very violent. It's like that. But the actors then explain that no, the other characters were bullying him because they were instigating him, because they were treating him as different and stuff like that, which is an important thing to say. There are different forms of bullying besides that which are physical. Like, queer people not only have to deal with violent bullying. I've talked before in videos about violence against trans people, violence against the queer community because of this difference, but also the verbal and mental abuse that queer people have to put up with as well. All the insults that are constantly thrown at members of the queer community, the isolation that we feel because we, as a queer community, can't take part in regular society because of it. Like, queer communities have made these communities to feel safe, to not feel isolated, but still these communities are being isolated from the rest of the heteronormative public. So that's how like these two subject matters connect, and it's complicated, very complicated. And I know that the play had the best intentions, but I feel like there was so much more to talk about, because the effects of bullying, people don't just get over that. The experience of bullying is something that you don't just realize you did or didn't do. It's a heavy subject matter that I've had a hard time talking about this. This is something that I almost didn't want to talk about, but while it's good that the play ended like where it did, that it said, we share this world and we're together. Yes, that's what everyone is hoping for. That's where people in the queer community find support from each other. Like, yes, we're in this together, but we're still being isolated from other parts of society because we're labeled as different. And there's still a lot more work to do with that. So, from a queer perspective, A Whole World did talk about something very relevant to the queer experience and a queer perspective, because bullying has existed in the queer community, at least been the queer community's experience for a long time, which led to the formation of queer communities of queer solidarity and queer support. There's still those traumas left behind that people don't just forget. And I think that itself is an important thing to talk about with kids. No matter if it's a queer kid or a straight kid, it doesn't matter. You should talk about how bullying lasts. It doesn't just go away. Words stick with you. Experiences stick with you. Experiences are how we get to this point. So you should also give the tools to help people who may be going through that kind of experience. Like, if you've been bullied, like, where do you go? You can talk about it, yes, but sometimes it's hard to talk about. So if they had acknowledged that, I think this play would have been a little bit better. Not just the skip to the end of happy ever after, because I'm not trying to be over analytical or like overly pessimistic about it, especially since it's a kid's play, but like sometimes a happy ending doesn't just happen. Give us the reasons for it to happen. Let them work together to realize that bullying is more than just violence. Bullying is more than just mental and verbal. Bullying is making someone feel isolated. And by just opening up the doors and say, hey, welcome back into the space, like, you're not isolated anymore, that doesn't solve the problem. You need to acknowledge the fact that you did isolate that person, and that just opening up the doors doesn't erase that at all. So that's my point of view on this. And I know that it's a bit of a difficult one, and it's a bit of a complicated one because it comes from a personal experience. And everyone's going to have their personal experiences and personal biases when it comes to something. And I'm not invalidating that at all. But I'm just saying that sometimes things need a bit more time to sink in and explain. Because ever since I was in grade school, we've had seminars and we've had talks about bullying, and bullying is bad. And how do you deal with a bully right then and there? But you never get the talk about what do you do after, which I feel is an important talk to have, because a lot of people still have to deal with that experience. Like, yes, they got through, but there's more to it than that. And I hope that that is understood and that comes across. So thank you everyone for watching this Queer Point of View.